Hot tech take on Death of the Author. I think it's stupid. Death of the Author is a way for smart people to try and tell you that they're smart, but they're not, they're actually not smart people when they do that shit. What the fuck is Death of the Author? Death of the Author is basically, let's take fiction for example. When somebody writes fiction that the author's intent doesn't matter, right? That when interpreting the fiction, right, if you want to say that it's about toxic masculinity and the advancement of the, you know, feminist basket weaving hierarchical revolution, as long as you can substantiate that in the text, then you can, and that's the actual true meaning of the text, right? Yeah, no, I haven't really described it. No. So Death of the Author, it's again, it's based on something that is obviously true, but taken way, way, way too far, right? The thing that's obviously true is that, when you read something, it obviously means something to you, right? And obviously the author might have meant it to mean something very different, and you don't know that, and that doesn't change the fact that it meant something to you, right? So that is true. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't such thing as a proper reading or an improper reading, or a skillful reading or an unskillful reading, right? And it doesn't mean that the author's intent doesn't count or doesn't matter. Like that, all those ideas are just taking that fact way too far, right? And all these things are obvious to anyone who has common sense. But when you go to university and get brainwashed in the wrong way, it just all dude, there are all sorts of game people. There's a certain cadre of them who I won't say who, but they all have advanced degrees and they all swear by Death of the Author and whatever. So, it doesn't mean that the author's intent doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Okay, so this is Mott and Bailey again, right? People will say, oh, Death of the Author just means your own interpretation. It doesn't mean the author's intent doesn't matter, but then it gets used to, in fact, denigrate author's intent often. So you can't claim that. Look at how it's actually used in the world. Yeah, when it comes to the meaning of a game, I just think play the game, right? Whatever's in there is in there, and that's what the game is. There's a solution to the toilet paper shortage right there. True. Pro tip, most of the best celebrated works of art are such despite the artist's intent to meaning. I disagree with that strongly. Quite strongly. I would say that some celebrated works of art are such despite the intended meaning, but I think this is hard, if someone is taking an academic approach to this and doesn't do art themselves, it's really hard to explain the depths to which it matters. People who really do art and really care about it work very, very, very hard and are very picky over very small details often that they don't expect anyone to ever consciously understand. That's one thing that I do when I make games. We work hard to get small details right that we know that almost nobody will ever consciously recognize. But you feel it in the work when the work is done, right? And so already right there, Like, intent is not as simple as people make it out to be. Intent is multidimensional and fractal, and this is why I can't watch people do game reviews, really, of any game anymore, but especially of my games, because I'm so close to my games. Like, dude, I worked on The Witness for about 7 frickin' years. I thought so long and so hard about so many details in that thing, and there's so much intent in it that, like, these cartoon ideas of intent that people have, they're just not the reality for something like that.